Welcome back, Deadbeat Drummers, to another Deadbeat Drum lesson. I'm going to go over the tools you're going to need and the items you're going to need in order to assemble your floor tom. And we're also going to go over basic tuning. And I'm going to go over how the batter and the resonant side head work with one another, and how that also is going to help you find your drum sound. The floor tom, tom floor, floor tom drum, floor tom, has different names. Once again, this is my approach, and what I'm going to teach you here is pretty much an in-depth of how the batter and the resonant side heads work with one another, and why it's important to understand that, because they more or less have to communicate with one another, and that really plays a big role when it comes to finding your own sound. But before I continue on with today's lesson, please do me a favor, please hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss my next lesson. Also, please don't forget to check out my Patreon page. If you become a patron, you have the option of a few tiers, and depending on what you choose, you can walk away with some merch, either a button, a patch, and sometimes even some one-on-one lessons. So please check out my Patreon page. And also, I have an Instagram as well. You can follow me both on Patreon and Instagram at Deadbeat Drums. Alright, the items that you're gonna need in order to make this work and to tune your floor tom is floor tom legs. You're gonna need your tensioning rods. Your drum key. If you can find two, that'd be great. If not a big deal. Just gotta remember that when you're tuning, you're gonna do the cross method, and I've gone over this before. Don't worry, I'll go over that again. Gonna need your floor tom hoops. Gonna need your drum heads, of course. Resonant side and your batter side. And I understand they may not look exactly like mine, but not a big deal. If you bought new drum heads, you'll know what I mean. And if you have the stock ones that are on there, not a big deal. Just know which is which. And of course, your floor tom drum shell. So first things first, let's grab your floor tom shell. Make sure it's right side up. I'm glad I double checked because mine was actually upside down. We're gonna start with the batter side. So grab your batter head. And I mentioned this before, I like things to look neat and uniform. So your drum head logo will match your badge on your shell. Place that on top. Grab your floor tom hoop. Place that on top. And now we're gonna grab your tensioning rods. And we're only gonna finger tighten them, all right? So let's place our tensioning rods and let's finger tighten them. We're not gonna crank on them just yet, all right? After you have your batter head finger tightened, we're not actually gonna do the resonant side just yet. We're actually gonna start trying to find the pitch and the rebound for the batter side. So we're gonna do quarter turns, and I'm actually gonna just use one drum key because I understand maybe some of you won't have an extra one, so we'll do one. We're gonna do quarter turns, and remember, we are going to do the crisscross method. So if we start here, you're gonna go directly across. You're gonna go directly across from this point, then all the way to here, and then to that point, and then end it right there. That's your pattern. So let's do quarter turns. I know that pattern I just did wasn't exactly what I had just mentioned before, but it was still in a crisscross form. And that was just 1 quarter turn on each one. Let's see how that sounds. Still a little low. I'm actually gonna go another quarter turn, see how that sounds. But that actually had a nice little low tone, just a little too low. So let's do another quarter turn. See how that sounds. It's a little too high. So I'm gonna back off just a little bit. Alright, I like that so far, and keep in mind we don't even have the resonant side head yet. So I do like the stick rebound that I'm having. And there is the low tone that I'm going for. And keep in mind, once we put the resonant side, we'll be able to balance things out. But for right now, I like where this is going. We are now ready to move on to the resonant side, so let's flip it over. Grab your resonant head. Once again, logo to the badge. Grab your floor tom hoop. Tension rods. And once again, we are just gonna place these on and we are gonna finger tighten them, okay? We're not gonna crank down on them just yet. We're just gonna finger tighten them. Once again, we're just gonna do quarter turns. Gonna start with that. Don't forget to do your crisscross pattern. Alright. Flip it over so that we can hear how that sounds. Now, I think that rattling that we are hearing at the end is actually the hardware from the floor tom legs. So let's stick the floor tom legs on there. Flip your drum over. Let's stick floor tom legs on there. Alright, let's see how this floor tom sounds. The rebound feels good. pitch, I do like as well. I like the sustain, and I'm going to go over what I mean by both the pitch and the sustain. The top head, once again, you are tuning for pitch and rebound, and on the resonant side, which is the bottom, you are tuning to sustain, how long you want that note to ring out. This is what I mean. Here's your batter side, here's your bottom resonant side, and what happens is when you strike the drum and the airwaves go through and reach that bottom head, your resonant head, depending how loose it is, and for example, let's say it's pretty loose, when the sound waves, you strike the drum, the sound waves go down and reach that bottom head. If it's too loose, those waves are going to be really big, and so it's going to get lost within that, on that resonant head. It's not going to make it to the shells, it's not going to make it to the bottom head, then to the shells, and bounce back up. That way you hear your drum sing, and you hear pretty much what your the type of material your drum is made out of, whether that's birch, maple, oak, African babinga. So that's why tuning is important, and it's important for you to understand this, because every drum is different. And the batter and the resonant head, it's like a conversation that they're having. They need to communicate, and you need to find that sweet spot. So what happens is, if it's too loose, it gets lost within the drum head and never even reaches the shells. If it's too tight, you hit the batter, the waves go down, reach the bottom head, and if you tighten it too much, then the waves are just gonna bounce real quickly back up, and you get that boingy sound. Once again, too loose, it's just going to get lost within your resonant head because it's loose. The waves are going to be big, and so you need to tighten it up to where those waves reach out to the shells and kind of make it right into the medium point. If it's too tight, like I mentioned, then it's going to reach, it's going to bounce off your resonant head, and it's just going to shoot right back up. So you need to find a nice medium point. Thank you guys for joining me in today's deadbeat drum lesson. I hope today's video was helpful. If you did find it helpful, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss my next upload. I'll see you in the next video.